All right, y'all, welcome back. If you're going down the playlist and this is your next video, glad to still have you here. And if you're new, thanks for joining. We're gonna be going over today the stance for long snapping. So we've gone over the grip, we've gone over kind of how your hands need to release. And so the next natural part of that is we're gonna show you how to line up to the ball. All right, so we're gonna be approaching the ball. We're gonna be coming with a slightly wider than shoulder width stance. You know, some people are super wide, some people are super like kind of narrow. I'm kind of right in the middle. I like having it a little wider than shoulder width because I got to get my entire upper body through that window. And to start off, you want to have your toes square. When you first approach the ball, your toes should always be square. When you get up, you get into your stance and you realize, oh, I need a little bit more. Then you can slightly point your toes out, but you never want to approach the ball with your toes out because it's going to lead to your toes being uneven and like different amounts of toe pointed outness. And when you do that and you extend, you're gonna not have a straight line back towards your target. So it's always important to start with your toes parallel and then adjust out as needed to help you get that bigger window to fit through. And so my pressure for my legs is I have a lot of tension here in this hip. So I'm not really like squatting down into it. There's not a lot of pressure here on my quads. It's really just in my hip and I'm leaning back. So the weight is on the outsides of my foot. I kind of have this little fin on my cleat here on the outside that lets me know like the front half of where it should be. And so that's where my weight distribution is. You want to have your weight back because when you end up using your legs here in the snap, you're going to be shooting back a little bit. And so if you're up on your toes and you try to snap, you're going to fall forward onto your face. Because obviously you don't want that. So here's kind of my side angle. I kind of have a relatively flat lower back. You want to have your back as flat as possible. But I got a little shorter arms, so I need a little bit more, you know, rounding in my back. Again, the weight is back. I can lift and wiggle my toes as I need to. So it's pretty subjective on how far people reach out with the ball when they grab it. For me personally, I like to keep it closer because I do have shorter arms. And so I think of the key like tucking my lats in my back pocket. So when I'm snapping, that's as far as the ball is going out in front of me. This leads me to keep my shoulders square. I'll try to get a front view here later. But it keeps my shoulders square. And when I come through, I know I'm gonna have a clean release coming out. However, some people will tell you to come out as far as you can. You know, some people say to have the ball straight up, some people have the ball straight down. I've never really been taught any of those specifically. What I like to do is I like to have the ball in my hand, and if I was just to like throw the ball behind me, how would I want my hand placed? And so for me, that's a pretty natural, it's pretty flat, it's not super upright. And then when I have my other hand on there, it just feels comfortable. It just feels like I could just throw it underneath with one hand if I want to, and then my off hand is kind of just guiding the ball through my legs. So like I feel like here my shoulders are relatively even. Some people tuck their shoulders back to get it super even, but like I said, my arms aren't long enough for me to be able to get down and just do a full like extension out. I think it's good to have them tucked back a little bit because it gives you a spot to where your shoulder, you always know where your shoulders are. So if you always give an even amount of tension pulling back, you're gonna have the same path coming through every single time. And I think that's really beneficial for the same repetitive motion over and over. All right, so I'll just show you me getting up to the ball. I would do, you know, if I was to snap the ball, get it up, pull my toes out a little bit, give me a little room. One thing you wanna do is push your legs out to give yourself a bigger window, and that's part of why you push your feet out. And then I get down, grab it. All right, so there's this one bit that I have figured out relatively recently that I think is super important. And that is when you get down and you have the ball in front of you, that you don't have the ball too far to the left or to the right. You kind of want it right down the middle. And it's kind of deceiving for me right now because I have this line, but my feet aren't exactly even on either side of the line. So for example, if I was practicing here, I may come into this habit of putting the ball here, when in reality, that's too far into my non-dominant side and it's gonna not give me enough control coming through. So I really want the ball there, so I make sure I have an even, you know, coming through my legs. Having the ball to one side or the other, you could have great hands, but if you're setting up and the ball's in the wrong spot, it's gonna cause you to have a really ugly ball coming back. All right, so thank you for watching my video on the long snapping stance. Everything in long snapping is personal. So if the stance that I do for myself doesn't work for you, play around with it, widen your legs, narrow your legs, push your knees out. And if you're having trouble pushing your knees out, make sure to stretch out your hips, doing pigeon stretches, hurdler stretches, anything like that, because that's really gonna help you generate more power and it's gonna get you in a more comfortable stance for when you end up throwing the ball long snapping. If you have any questions, comments, things I didn't cover, things you want me to cover, leave them down below, and thank you for watching.